I'm still with former Conservative Special Advisor and now political commentator James Price. James, Labour has for a long time had an obsession with ID cards. Lord David Blunkett, one of Labour's better men, if you ask me, I've got quite a lot of time for him, but he's obsessed with ID cards. Barely a day goes past without him writing for some newspaper. It's time for ID cards. You know, he had a big piece in the Mail on Sunday, just gone, you know, saying ID cards now are a no-brainer, no-brainer. Tony Blair is fixated on them. We've got to have ID cards, we've got to. It's 21st century. And Blair's been banging on about this. They were going on about this back in the noughties during Blair's government. It's a long-term obsession of Labour's that all people in Britain, British citizens, British residents, should be issued with an ID card. Now, their new excuse, their new reason for this, to try and rack up the pressure is, look, we could solve the migrant crisis if only everyone had ID cards. No, we couldn't, by the way. They're just using the migrant crisis as their latest excuse to try to persuade us to have ID cards. Now, I can see that in many ways this would help, you know, help a government. You know, it would make life easier for a government. But I don't think that we as a people should capitulate. We have to say to our governments, our successive governments, you know, I know us not having ID cards makes life more difficult for you, makes it more difficult for you, the Labour government, to control us, the people, but frankly, you're going to have to like it and lump it. We don't want ID cards, and we do not want to live in a papers, please society where people can pull you up and say, show me your ID card, papers, please. You know, I get the reasons for it. I mean, there are logical reasons for it, but culturally, emotionally, it's just not British. And I think we must say no to Labour. We must say no to Blunkett. We must say no to Blair. No ID cards for this country.
Yeah, you're right in the sense that this stuff it feels instinctively deeply un-British. I think that's a really important point. But after many years of wonderful friendship, I'm worried that I might be about to find more than a fag paper between you and I, because even I've had my head turned ever so slightly by this idea for the reasons that these people are now finally using about the scale of the migrant crisis. I don't like it to be the case that we'd have to do any of this stuff, but I do think that something is necessary in order to get a grip with it. Now, of course, the good answer of this is that we can just round up all of these people, we can deport them, we can stop them from coming here in the first place and all the rest of it. It's why the same reason why the various kinds of banning of the burqa and of halal food and all these sorts of things. You don't want to have to tell people how to dress and what to eat and what not to eat and things. But you know, what you want to do is to have everybody who's integrated into the British way of life, so you don't need to worry about this sort of stuff. I almost think perhaps in a way a compromise would be, in a naive, wonderful world, that you do ID cards for 5 years or something and then you get rid of it. But of course, as Ronald Reagan once said, there's nothing so permanent as a temporary government programme, right?
It's true. It's true. Now, in the States, having lived there, of course, their system is the driving licence. So even if you can't drive, you're supposed to have a driving licence in America. But at the same time, if a copper says to you, show me your driving licence, show me your ID if you like, as an American, you're able to say, no, I don't want to. So it's not compulsory over there. They have a sort of an ID card system, but not the kind that I think Blunkett and Blair have in mind. Now, I can see, but what worries me about what you're saying, as I say, if you're going to persuade me, I suppose the migrant crisis, the potential solution of the migrant crisis is a powerful argument. But what worries me about that is, you know, if we had ID cards, they go, oh, well, this is obviously an illegal migrant because he hasn't got an ID card, they would be entirely forgeable, and there'd soon be a thriving business in forged fake ID cards. So I don't think necessarily they're the passport to solving the migrant crisis.
I like the pun there of being the passport to solving it. Very
Good, yeah.
droll.
That's why I get the small. That's why I get the small bucks.
Exactly right. Weirdly, and it was Talk Zone and occasional contributor Harry Cole talking about this today, just before he jet sets off to his fancy new gig in the United States, where he got himself a new passport. And actually, I've done it recently. And the passport service has gone from being absolutely dreadful to being perhaps the best run bit of the British state. So we can do some of these things well.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? I recently had to get a driving license. Brilliant. But about 2 days, they said it maybe 5 days, was there in 2 days. Totally efficient. So something's going on somewhere. So credit where it's due, but go on.
Exactly. And I think that what this means is that whilst in the noughties under Blair, a lot of people listening will remember their attempts to do fancy new IT systems for the healthcare service, and all this, and it never worked and never went right. Now I think the technology really is there to be able to do this, which is both exciting. You look at somewhere like Estonia, where they save something like 5 whole days every single year because their online portal is so good, and they can vote online and they can order stuff online and all sorts. And it's really good because they've got the tech capabilities, because they're staring down the barrel of the evil Russians that they're dealing with. But it's also scary because, as you say, Kev, if we gave the state this kind of power and we gave the state a big list of everybody and where they live and what they're doing all the time, that is a serious threat to freedom. And I think perhaps the only way that we could square this circle is with this exciting kind of sexy new technology called the blockchain, which is what cryptocurrencies sort of live on. And I think that whilst this sounds a little bit out there and a bit futuristic for now, I think that given how much technology is changing, the idea that you can keep someone's identity, you can keep some piece of information on the blockchain, the idea of which is that it's decentralized in networks all around the world and not held in any one, say, government mainframe, that's the kind of technology we might need to use. An example of this is that AI is now so good, right? They could generate a conversation between you and me where we're saying, Greta's really great, I love paying taxes and all this sort of stuff. And people might think, oh, actually, God, they both had lobotomies and this is real. And actually, if we have
probably thinking that already, but good point. Yeah.
But if we have this show and we put a stamp of it on this idea of the blockchain, people would know that this is the only legitimate version of it. Maybe that's some way we can square the circle, kick out all the people that shouldn't be here, and not ruin our ancient English liberty.
Yeah, I know, you know, I'm available for debate on this, but what worries me about the Blunketts and particularly the Blairs of this world, Blair wants ID cards only for one reason: control.
Power, exactly.
Power and control. And if we are going to have any form of ID card, we have to somehow make sure that the socialists mismanaging this country aren't able to use these ID cards for their nefarious purposes, which is to corral us and to control us. That's why Blair wants it. It's control over the people. And that's what worries me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is the problem, isn't it? Socialism is the very definition of the reason why we can't have any nice things, because you can't trust the socialists in power on this. And of course, the nice solution would be you never need ID cards because everything already works marvelously well. The kind of systems that are already in place work really well. And you don't have, tens of thousands of fighting age men coming over on small dinghies that our government won't let us stop every year, right? If we can sort out the kind of, pardon the pun again, upstream problems of some of this stuff, we wouldn't need to worry about it. But my fear is that things have got so bad now, that hour is so late, that we're going to have to start looking at things that don't feel very nice and cuddly and liberal in order to fix them. The real challenge would be, you have those sorts of powers in the short term, can we get rid of it? The state took a lot of powers in World War II in order to win the war, and then Friedrich Hayek wrote a great book called The Road to Serfdom that warned, if...
Gotta go. We gotta go, James. James Price.